Elizabeth Bennet spends much of Pride and Prejudice navigating people who use wealth, status, and social authority against her. Darcy dismisses her at a public ball. Caroline Bingley systematically undermines her appearance, her family, and her social standing. Lady Catherine arrives at her home to interrogate and intimidate her into surrender. And Elizabeth responds to all of them the same way, with wit, with refusal, with the specific pride of a woman who has decided that wealth and status are not the same as worth. And then she sees Pemberley.
He is the best landlord and the best master that ever lived.
And for a moment, just a moment, she imagines herself inside that world. Is that a double standard? Or is Austen showing us something true about human nature that Elizabeth herself can barely admit? Let's establish the pattern first. Darcy uses social power. He looks at Elizabeth at the Meryton ball and dismisses her in a way that reflects both personal prejudice and social hierarchy. Not handsome enough, not worth his attention. The dismissal is delivered casually, to someone else, as though she is not a person who might hear it. Caroline Bingley uses verbal precision. She mocks Elizabeth's muddy walk to Netherfield. She dismantles Elizabeth's appearance in conversation with Darcy. She helps create the distance between Jane and Bingley with the careful efficiency of someone determined to shape the outcome. Her weapon is the socially acceptable insult, the critique that sounds like observation, the exclusion that looks like preference. Lady Catherine uses interrogation. She receives Elizabeth at Rosings not as an equal, but as someone to be examined. Have you had a governess? Do you play? Have you been educated properly? Every answer becomes an opportunity to remind Elizabeth how things should have been done differently. 3 different methods, the same underlying message. You are not one of us, and you should know it. Elizabeth hears them. She doesn't comply. She laughs at Darcy. She matches Caroline line for line. She refuses Lady Catherine without apology.
If Mr. Darcy is neither by honour or inclination confined to his cousin, why may he not make another choice? And if I am that choice, why may I not accept him?
And then she walks into Pemberley. The house is beautiful. The grounds are natural and harmonious. The housekeeper speaks about Darcy with genuine warmth, not merely respect for his position, but affection for his character. The estate appears well managed. The people on it seem cared for. And Elizabeth, walking through these rooms, has a thought she can barely acknowledge. What would it have been like to be mistress of this? She tells Jane about it later, laughing, deflecting, turning it into a joke. I believe I must date my love for him from my first seeing his beautiful grounds at Pemberley.
How long have you loved him?
Well, it's been coming on so gradually, I hardly know. But I believe I must date it from my first seeing his beautiful grounds at Pemberley.
It's funny because there is at least a grain of truth in it. And it's uncomfortable because of what it reveals. The woman who spent the novel resisting social prestige finds herself impressed by what prestige can look like when joined to character, beauty, and responsibility. So, is this a double standard? Elizabeth judged Darcy, Caroline, and Lady Catherine by the way they used their power, and found them wanting. She held herself apart from their world with conscious pride. But at Pemberley, she encounters the same wealth, the same status, the same social power, and experiences something very different. The question is, what changed? The obvious answer is Darcy. By this point, Elizabeth has already begun revising her opinion of him. Pemberley appears to reflect a man who uses his position responsibly, and Elizabeth may be responding as much to character as to wealth. But that answer does not entirely remove the discomfort, because Pemberley is still a very large house. The security it represents is still financial. The position it offers is still social. And Elizabeth's imagination still moves, however briefly, toward a version of herself that is wealthier, safer, and more secure than the one she currently inhabits. She is not immune to the appeal of material realities. Austen knows this. The joke Elizabeth makes to Jane, the laugh, the deflection, feels like an acknowledgement that the truth is more complicated than she would like it to be.
Is your master much in Pemberley?
Not as much as I wish, sir.
There is a defense of Elizabeth here, and it's a real one. The people who challenged her throughout the novel often used status as a weapon. Darcy dismissed her. Caroline excluded her. Lady Catherine attempted to intimidate her. In each case, power was being used to diminish someone with less of it. Pemberley presents a different image of power. The servants speak well of Darcy. The estate functions well. Responsibility appears to accompany privilege. So perhaps Elizabeth is not responding to wealth itself, but to wealth joined to good character. Not merely to status, but to status exercised responsibly. Many readers would argue that Austen intends exactly this, and it is a persuasive reading. But there is still a limit to how far it goes. Because Elizabeth does not simply admire the estate. She imagines herself within it. And for a brief moment, she recognizes something Charlotte Lucas understood from the beginning. Material realities matter. Not everything, but they matter.
There is no earthly reason why I shouldn't be as happy with him as any other.
But he's ridiculous.
Oh, hush. Not all of us can afford to be romantic. I've been offered a comfortable home and protection.
And this is where the novel becomes more honest than its reputation sometimes suggests. Austen is not writing a heroine who exists above material considerations. She is writing a heroine who understands that material considerations exist, even when she wishes they did not matter quite so much. Elizabeth's joke about Pemberley is Austen's acknowledgement that her protagonist is human, that the same intelligence that saw through Darcy's pride can also appreciate the beauty of his estate, that the woman who refused Collins on principle can still feel the attraction of comfort, security, beauty, and status when they appear before her. This does not make Elizabeth a hypocrite. It makes her believable. But it does leave us with an uncomfortable question. If Pemberley had been run badly, if the servants had feared Darcy, if the estate had reflected vanity instead of stewardship, would Elizabeth have found her way to loving him anyway? She would probably say yes. Austen likely wants us to believe yes. But Elizabeth's joke suggests that the answer may not be quite as simple as that.
Stark pretensions of a young woman without family connections or fortune? Is this to be endured? It must not. It shall not be.
Elizabeth Bennet spent this novel resisting the misuse of power. And then Pemberley showed her what power could look like when joined to character, and she felt the pull. That's not a flaw in Elizabeth. It's one of the most honest things about her. She is a woman who believes character matters more than wealth. She also lives in a world where wealth shapes almost everything, and she is too intelligent to pretend otherwise. Austen gave us a heroine sharp enough to notice the tension, and honest enough to laugh about it. Tell me in the comments, do you think Elizabeth would have found her way to loving Darcy without Pemberley? And is the joke she makes to Jane a moment of honesty, or a way of avoiding one? I'm Sana. This is Monica's Pie. The story's never just the story.